Okay, we're back on the chain gang. Back in the what's that song? Back by Aerosmith. Back in the blah blah again. Back in the cockpit. Back in the hazard. Anyway, sorry, you're just gonna see my head for this because my room is kind of a mess. I mean, it's just the walls aren't decorated because I'm like scared of peeling off the flipping. Um, well, I wouldn't call it wallpaper. It's just like the casing. I don't know. It feels like a hard boiled egg. All this white material. If you just smack it, it'll just crinkle. Like, anyway, none of these crackhead jokes. Back to it. Yeah, I did delete some apps on my phone, so my phone is a little lighter in storage now. But now it's like I kind of regret deleting certain apps because I kind of liked having them. Although I think God just planned for me to do it or something. It's all part of His vision. Anyway, back to it. Um, I did the first six I was gonna do. I'm gonna do the last six zodiac signs. There's a lot I could say about all these signs. Keep in mind these. I'm just giving you like the brief skinny on each of them from my sort of somewhat unique perspective because I try to have an unusual take. I'm not like a trained astrologer, although I do talk to people about their circumstances quite a bit. But I'm not. I've never made money on astrology, even though I probably could. I mean, I have this like astrocartography habit that seems like it's almost lucrative if done right because people don't know how to read these charts, and if you just have any sense for how to bullshit a session, you could probably make like $60, an hour, provided you could find clients for that sort of thing. Then again, I feel so hokey and in you know unscientific, but whatever. That's not the point. The point is I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about these signs, the fast and loose, hard and true core identity. Aries. Aries is a sign I used to despise just out of principle. The ram that charges into everything head first. Okay, real charming. What I realize is that like that's a good quality in a way because they're starting early. Aries like to start early. They like to, and that means that socially they're very aware of what they need to be aware of more than the other signs are. They're caught up to speed. So they're actually not bad people socially because you can kind of talk to them. They'll be caught up. They'll be, they know what's going on. Maybe more even than you do. That said, the whole like rushing through life, uh, conundrum is very real with Aries, and I think sometimes they cast out marginalia as being like just too obscure and they're afraid of irrelevant things in general. They're afraid of being bogged down by sort of perceived irrelevance. They're just not in the habit of dwelling on things that don't have some sort of immediate bubbling energy to them. I would think of Aries as being really bad at philosophy, and probably even worse at like meditation, which is a philosophy if you know how to do it. But any kind of philosophy where you have to like make light of the mundane or find depth in the mundane or the void of your own experience, that kind of stuff, the void in your own experiences, the voids in your many experiences. I mean, not the void overall, but just voids in the boring, the boringer aspects of your own moments. Those Like a Scorpio is pretty good at that. And then the Scorpio will also try to tie it in to like general life, you know, more obvious matters, more obvious importance. But Aries don't want none of it, and they just stick with the obvious important stuff. What's obviously important is what's most important. And they really care about the obvious. And the one sign that's like this, but they do it in a funnier way is Libra. And Libra is on the opposite side of the zodiac circle. So that's the opposite side, the oppositional sign to Aries. Usually this means that there's some sort of like, hit and miss relationship where they're like very, very similar, but at the same time totally different. Aries and Libra are similar because they both care about things that are obvious. But the difference between an Aries and a Libra is an Aries cares less about status than a Libra. A Libra cares about what obviously has status and will enjoy those things because they obviously have status. And Aries cares more about personal power and sense of integrity, but it has to be stuff that's just like obviously, authentically going to do that. It's not. They don't want to, watch some old movie to learn about acting or some shit if they don't have to. Why? Maybe if they're like already a dedicated actor, it'll be on the horizon. But they're not going to do it as like a theoretical, like, hey, this could be good to just have, just to know about. They don't like knowing about things just to know about things. They don't like to accumulate and collect, unless they know it's enhancing them and it's making them stronger. They have to know something's making them stronger. And a lot of fire signs are like that, where they have to know something is doing something for them in order for them to buy into it. And it's interesting to see the difference with Aries, Leo, and Sag. Okay. I haven't talked about romance for any of these signs, so I'm not going to keep doing it. But I have been comparing backwards and forwards with the different sort of trade-offs. So I guess with Pisces, which was before Aries, Pisces, like I said before in the earlier video, they care about their immediate mood. They care about their ability to cope, the comfort they have with themselves and their own awareness of who they are. They don't want that process interrupted, that connection to like how they really feel, They care a lot about like their negative emotions. They don't mind being sad. Not to say that they don't mind other people viewing them as sad. They think there's beauty in that. And Aries probably does not want you thinking they're sad. And Aries wants you to think that they're collected, that they're in command of themselves, that they could be in command of someone else, that they can teach you a thing or two if they need to. Aries are top dog. Now, are they really? I don't think like it matters so much in terms of organizational command. I think it's more in terms of, if how they interact with you. So like, if you ask an Aries a question, he'll be, yes, I can answer it. Even if he doesn't have the best answer, he'll give you an answer. A Pisces might not give you an answer that is like a straightforward answer. They might, if they don't have a good one, like they don't know the obvious, they might give you some sort of jokey answer that'll just make you feel good, and then you'll be like, yeah, Pisces is kind of funny, But the Aries will kind of give you like what they think is the best answer. A Pisces will give you sort of like oh, why are you worrying about it? They almost like give you a bullshit answer. It's like, well, don't even worry about it, Here, just think about how something else. If a Pisces doesn't care about something, they're not going to try to understand why someone else does. Aries, if they see that you care about something, they're not going to care themselves, but they will incorporate the fact that you care about it into their answer, and that is part of their charm, is that they're aware of what other people want, because they know that they know that is pertinent to getting ahead, or just being collected. is having that's a very being socially, present. Anyway, next one is Taurus. I feel like I try not to disparage some of these signs, and it still kind of leaks out anyway because they're just the reputations these signs has is just sort of impossible to distance from. It's kind of irrevocable. Anyway, the next one's Taurus. Taurus is the oppositional sign to my sign. Taurus is opposite to Scorpio, so I got beard dandruff. So, I know what I'm talking about when I have beard dandruff. That means I'm an intellectual. Um, yeah, I kind of like beard dandruff. I'm like a sicko. I'm a real sicko. Is this gray hairs? I don't know, maybe. Jeez, see my first gray hair, and it's interrupting a fucking astrology video about fucking. Jeez, this is the worst way to find gray hairs. First gray hairs, and it's an astrology video about with beard dandruff. Anyway, okay, let me just plow through this. Scorpio, sorry, is opposite to Taurus, and Taurus is uh wow, gray hair. I'm still amazed and disappointed. Okay, Taurus is they're like Scorpios are very like sexual. They can like they feel like they can own the room by just like fucking their way through it. Not that they would, not that they could, but they just sort of feel like they could solve problems through sex. Like, oh, it doesn't matter if that person doesn't like me. If we have sex, then they'll understand that I'm just a person, and that kind of thing. It's sort of this teenage sort of outlook. Taurus is not quite like that. Taurus is a little maybe younger or something. Like Taurus, they view it in terms of like, oh, well, like dinner or drinking with someone, or they have the same attitude that Scorpios have with sex. They have it with like food. If I eat food with someone, then we'll just, it doesn't matter if I don't like them. We'll just, we'll just hang out. Whatever. That's where they're similar. Where they're different, though, is that Tauruses really don't like to have their worldview rocked, whereas Scorpios kind of don't mind that, and they sort of expect it. Scorpio almost wants to have their worldview turned upside down, even if it's like not realistic or probable or truthful. They kind of like the feeling. Taurus, they want everything to just be sort of like at a snail's pace. We all agree, or we agree to disagree, but no one's gonna like get contentious, and my values aren't gonna be in question. Tauruses are, I mean, Aries can be like that, but I think Aries is a little more agile. Taurus is they just want the same old ideology and song and dance the whole day through. They do change their mind, but they don't do it like publicly that much. They don't. They're very like stubborn. They'll kind of like ruminate, alone, and then they'll sort of like say some flip kind of answer as to why they they've modified their position on a topic. Anyway, the next line of concern is Gemini. Gemini is basically you're starting to get into the summer with Gemini. I guess Taurus veers into summer too, end of spring. Gemini is sort of fully, morphed into summer at this point. Gemini are also like that with Taurus. They're more stubborn than you'd think. The difference is that Gemini know that being stubborn is like sort of a buffoonish look. So they'll change their mind more often, but they'll do it a little too often sometimes, and they get a reputation for being fickle. They aren't really as fickle as some other signs. Like I think Cancer or even Leo might be more fickle. But what it is that they just change their mind just enough that it becomes noticeable that they're doing it. But it really isn't super often. It's just it's the night and day transition, but but you notice that that's like that takes a while for day to turn to night, right? But you still notice it when it's happening because it's a big transition. That's how Geminis are. They have one sort of disposition for a month, and then the next month they're just like, you know what, I actually didn't like that. I thought I liked it. I guess I don't. But I mean, I liked it at the time. Whatever. I don't want to think about it. I'm doing this now. Geminis have like month long phases, or more. I mean, they sort of cool off on what they were hot on. They're hot on you, and they're gonna cool off on you. You better believe it. And if eventually though they'll get hot on you again. So they're a seasonal sign. They're the most. I think they could be considered the most seasonal sign of all. Um, Further research pending, right? But I so far I think that's like a fair assumption. Uh, they're known as the twins, right? The other thing about Gemini is that because they do change their mind often, they don't like that people are stubborn. They're kind of wary and unconvinced by it. So if you really have a strong conviction, don't advertise it to a Gemini because they'll start to think that you're like crazy and foolhardy, and maybe even they'll think you have like weak character and you're unreliable and sort of, I mean, just deranged overall. I've had that happen to me. I've had a lot of the problems I've mentioned in this 2-part series. I've had a lot of them happen to me, and fairly consistently too. Um, Once a Gemini feels like they've figured you out, you're gonna have to put a lot of effort into getting them to change their mind. But it does. It never. I don't think it's impossible. I think Gemini are humble about their intelligence, typically. So that means that they will. Like an Aries is not that humble, but a Gemini ultimately is more humble than an Aries is. Even if a Gemini is like a PhD biochemist or some such, the Gemini might change their mind more often because they don't really hold fast to any this or that uh, principle or belief or conviction. The next one up is Cancer. Cancers are very much domesticated in their approach. They want to have a nice home and they'll do whatever it takes to make the home nice. And that can mean changing their mood or their opinion on whatever keeps the show going for them. This is interesting because they're the opposite sign of Capricorn. Capricorns only care about business. Cancers only care about their immediate environment, and their immediate sense of like what moves into that environment and moves out of it. That could be people or that could be objects. So a Cancer will probably be a decent cook. They'll probably be like to have cozy bedroom. They like to have a cozy bathroom. They like to have a friendly atmosphere. The thing with Cancers, though, is that they don't necessarily put a lot of effort into projects. I know that sounds like a broad brush statement, but I think Cancers are frankly kind of bad at projects. I think they do a lot for immediate sort of validation and gratification, but they don't think long term very much. They focus a lot on simple things, and those simple things can be very like enriching, especially if they do a lot of simple things in a short period of time, and they will do a lot of simple things in a short period of time. Cancers love repetition, and they love repetition where there's a reward that is very clear. There's like some people like repetition, but the reward they get like Virgos like repetition, but the reward they like it when the reward isn't as obvious. Sagittarius like repetition, but they like it when the reward isn't so obvious. Cancers and also Scorpios, and maybe water signs overall, so including Pisces, they like rewards that are obvious, short-lived, and they can follow up with another round of the same. They're very episodic in the way they view things, and the way they do projects. But if you want someone to work on like a multi-year, 10-year project, you go for a Capricorn, maybe an Aries or Leo. Capricorn, I think Leo. I would think Libra or Aries. But I wouldn't go Earth sign. I wouldn't go water sign. The best of those two is probably Virgo, but even then, Cancers, and again, a Cancer can be okay. What Cancers are okay with long term projects on the condition that they feel domestically very stable, and that they feel just situated in their immediate environment. They have a place in their immediate environment. They're not being pushed around. They don't like being pushed around, even if they seem like sort of scraggly types that are living on the margins anyway. Cancer might be fringy, but a Cancer will not let anyone else let them be fringy. They do it on their own, and they enjoy it for their own. I think Scorpios. I'm a Scorpio. I think Scorpios are a little different. I think Scorpios aren't as comfortable with that sort of thing. I think Scorpios are more afraid of irrelevance, but because they're afraid of irrelevance, they don't take the same risks. Cancers are more honest about how cyclical life is. There's ups and downs. For a Scorpio, I think Scorpios are more. They don't trust negativity as much as they obsess over it. Like they want negativity, but they don't want to like be stuck in negative. They want to run through negativity and get it over with as quickly as possible. But they actually don't want to like linger in it because they don't. But a Cancer will linger in a negative space, because I think they're aware that there's going to be a flip side where they'll be able to linger in the positive space. So in a way, I think Cancers are more social than Scorpios, but Scorpios are more driven. Now the next one is Leo, and it always kind of surprises me that Leo is after Cancer, because even though I've known that they're that way for like 15 years probably, I just never really understood how they could butt up against each other. But it makes sense, I think, because Leos are also rather domesticated in a sense. They like to be sort of aware of what's going on, and they like to feel like they can call the shots if need be. They like to feel like that they can be relied on, and they like to feel like that they can be, promoted at any time. A Leo, whether or not they're going to be promoted or they are relied on, they that's their sense of belonging is, oh, I'm the one who is the most ready to be sort of, elevated. They like Libras, they care about status, but they don't desire status. They just sort of want to convey status, if that makes a world of sense. A Leo wants to. I'm realizing now that this is the last one. Anyway, so Leos, because I started with Virgo in the last episode or last video lecture, whatever it is. Leos, they convey status, but they don't really want to chase it. Libras will chase it. Aries will sort of appreciate it. But Leos, they want to like have it. But they don't want to like work. They won't frantically work for it. They'll sort of find it within themselves, which is kind of this, seems like a very like kung fu master kind of approach. And it can be. But the problem is that sometimes Leos, not everyone is convinced that they have this authority that they say they have. So they can be pretty pretentious. Um, but they're a higher end version of what a Cancer is at the low. Cancer is ultimately kind of a miscreant. The Cancer just wants to get in the nitty gritty and sort of revel in the mud, and see where that takes them. See how they can make the merit out of that. Leo wants to sort of stand above that and be like, like, here I am as an operating individual in a society. What is my position? What is the best possible position that I can, foist my, that I can, bend into, with the minimal effort. In a way, Leos are calculating just like Virgos are, but they're calculating for their own, laziness. Whereas Virgos are calculating for their own productivity. Virgos really like to work, but they don't like to work on things that amount to an appearance of working. Virgos like to seem like, I feel like Virgos don't like to be seen working. What Capricorns do, Leos don't want to work at all, but they want to calculate so that they don't have to. I think the opposite one of Leo is Gemini, Aquarius. Oh, we didn't talk about Aquarius. I skipped Aquarius. I just totally skipped it. That is a bummer. Anyway, I'll talk about it in the last one. Aquarius for me are hard to figure out. That's probably why I skipped them. They're the hardest one for me to figure out. They're a fixed sign, but they're an air sign. So that means they have a very socially, they're very concerned about status, social status, and standings and things, but they're stubborn at the same time. So they go to the show knowing full well where people are and what people mean to other people, and then they don't. And so they kind of have a strategy on immediately on onset, how to interact, how far they're willing to go with someone. It's all mapped out for an Aquarius, which is kind of terrifying. I think that they're evaluating the situation that much, or that they have the ability to evaluate a situation that much, or to make judgments based on limited evidence. Scorpios are like that too, but Scorpios, I think, enjoy being surprised. I don't think Aquariuses want to be surprised. I think Aquariuses really want to know how far they're going to go before they go there. They want to have complete sort of awareness of the dangers and the safeties in a situation, and in a room of people, and in a life situation with friends and family. They want to know how far they can go, and the reason is I think for them, keep in mind, this is the sign I understand the least. I think for them, they're really scared of being embarrassed. The last thing they want is someone to be like, is people for them to make some sudden mistake and then have everything fly apart. And so, knowing that, they will consciously do eccentric things because they're very afraid of doing eccentric things unconscionably. They don't want to do it by accident. They don't want to be tripped into it, guilt or led astray, led into it. They want to do wild things, with eyes wide open. And that's why they're so associated with wild things, is because often they're just choosing them because they know that they don't want to do them if they can't have a choice to. So they're between Pisces and they're between Sagittarius. Aquarius is kind of moody, like Pisces. They're very into their own emotions, where they stand. But like a Sagittarius, they're very strategic. Oh, sorry, not Sagittarius, Capricorn. Well, Capricorn's also extremely strategic. Capricorn's middle of the road, though. They're all about professionalism. Sagittarius is all about strategic about how they interact with people, they're very funny. They like the social interaction. They're very strategic about how they talk, and when they get you, when they don't. Aquarius isn't even that careful when they talk to someone, but they are very careful about who they talk to and for how long, and sort of the reputation of people and the character flaws in people. Whereas a Sagittarius overlooks that, but then he'll just sort of weasel his way in and out depending on who they find themselves talking to. Sagittarius is a little more social curiosity than Aquarius. Aquarius is a quick judge of character and sort of a damning one. But that can be good. That can be like Mozart was an Aquarius, and Mozart was very much gifted at evaluating certain instruments. And this is particular to Mozart. Not all composers were like this. He would evaluate instruments, and he didn't like the flute, so he didn't use it. He had this idea that the flute wasn't good. I think a lot of composers would have given the flute more of a chance. But for Mozart, it took him a while to give the flute like a chance. Like he had a strong opinion that the flute was, it's not worth his, not now, not for me, not now, later, maybe, I don't know. I think Aquariuses are there's something they're repelled more easily, and they also they inherently deflect from criticism. Even if they don't actively speak out, they will inherently avoid criticism openly, publicly, right? Sort of their nature. All right, well, that's it. I'll try to do one on romance, and I'll try to do one on business, and then I think that's the most I'll be able to do with my available competencies. I guess I could foresee doing one on emotional cycling, and I can do one for all the zodiacs on all these would be on all the zodiacs. I could do one for what is it? Communication. That is about the limit for the categories. And it's all based on the particular planets. Venus is romance, Mars is business, communication is Mercury, and then the moon, the one moon of Earth, is emotional cycling. Because the moon moves around faster than any other celestial body, so it changes the most in its orientation to us. All right, I'm gonna go check out these gray hairs. I'm kind of annoyed that I have them. Didn't really. Maybe I had them for a while. I mean, I guess all these hairs are sort of babies, so those kind of count. But this is like a mature hair, and it's gray. It's really sort of distressing. All right, storage is low. I have to exit now, and then I'm going to upload almost immediately. So don't worry about that. It's basically 12:15 in the morning, Saturday, February 18th. Just now, Saturday, February 18th, 2023, New York City.